So just looking at the coronavirus cases here, this data comes from the BBC website, the BBC News website, and if we have a look at the data as it's given on the BBC website, then what we want to do is, if we order it just by the number of cases, which is as it was on the BBC website, then you can see that the USA is topping it. This is just on the 27th of March, and this is mainly because they've had a lot of people being tested, whereas other countries may not have had so many people being tested. And they've got quite a lot of deaths, but not as many as some other countries. But if we have a look at deaths per case and we sort it by that, then what do we get? We get this. So, of course, there are some countries with very few cases, so the percentages are not very reliable, don't really mean very much. But for other countries, they do mean they are quite significant. So, for example, Italy, about 10% of the people who've had a confirmed coronavirus cases have actually died from it. And so this is the order in terms of death per case. You can highlight a few important ones like Italy, like Iraq, where they've had a lot of cases, like Iran, a lot of cases, Indonesia and Spain, Philippines, hundreds, Netherlands and France, and the UK there. The UK's had more deaths per case than Egypt. It's nearing 5%. 5% of all those confirmed cases who tested positive have actually died. And the figure is even higher for France, and even higher for Spain, and then even higher for Italy. So they're so-called Western developed nations, and yet they've got a really high percentage of death rates, so the mortality rates when they've actually caught the virus. China is down here at near 4%, and the US is right down here at 1.5% at the moment. So in terms of mortality rate, the US is doing pretty well. And again, they have tested many things. Now, there are a couple of caveats here for the deaths per case. It's not the be all and the end all, because the first caveat I did mention, it's that up here, these ones don't really mean much because you've got very few cases in the first place. But the other thing that would be better to have a look at, and we don't see this very often, is finding a percentage of the number of cases, first of all, as a percentage of A, the population of the country, and B, the number of people who've been tested. And if you could combine those percentages into one, that would be quite a meaningful, give it quite a meaningful number. And then the deaths per case, the deaths per case being when you talking about the case as a percentage of the A, the population, and B, the number of people who've been tested.